Welcome to No Password Required, a monthly conversation that introduces you to some of the top talent in the world of cybersecurity.
Hello and welcome to No Password Required, a podcast dedicated to exploring the minds and personalities that make up the field of cybersecurity. I'm your host, Ernie Fararesso, and with me, as always, Jack Clabby, a cybersecurity attorney at Carlton Fields, PA in Tampa. On the podcast today, we'll chat with Charles Shearer, the CEO of Global Wave Consulting, also known as BSD Bandit by his over 20,000 Twitter followers. Charles is often considered the most positive person in cybersecurity. When he's not saving the world with his pen testing skills, he can be found playing the greatest video games of the 80s and 90s. Charles, we look forward to a great conversation. But first, hello to my co-host, Jack Clabby. Good day, sir.
Hey, Ernie. How are you?
You know, every day a little bit better than the last.
I'm excited to talk to Charles today. We've had a lot of notable names, but he is a true cybersecurity celebrity. So it's pretty cool that we're going to get to talk to him today, and hopefully we'll get a chance to ask him some questions about the video game side.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited too, because he's got a lot of history, a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Well, there's been one thing we should talk about. There's been a lot of conversation last week or so about this announcement from the United Kingdom's, the ICO, sort of their privacy regulator there, about something the action they may take against TikTok, the sort of popular social media app, for allegedly processing children's data in violation of the UK's version of the data protection law that is otherwise in place in the EU. So there's been a lot of headlines on this, and it's the biggest thing I think is the potential fine. It's 25 million pounds, which is essentially 4% of global turnover for the company. It's pretty huge numbers here. And it goes back a couple of years. The allegation is basically that TikTok was gathering information on those who were under the age of 13. So children, not teenagers, without getting the correct disclosure, without giving the correct disclosures, and without getting sort of verifiable parent consent to doing that. So this is an issue all around the world. TikTok has faced some fines in at least one other foreign country. And a couple of years ago in the US, the Federal Trade Commission fined TikTok, there was like $1 million or $2 million for similar alleged conduct. But it's something that video game app developers, websites face. There's two kinds of companies that face these issues. The first are companies that set up websites or apps for children, and they have a certain set of regulations, at least in the US, that they have to comply with. And it's typically called COPPA, C-O-P-P-A. And it's got the sort of one set of regs for child-oriented websites. And then it's got another set of sort of regs and responsibilities for general use websites that are a little less onerous. Like if a kid happens to go on a website, of a general retailer and just shows up, there's, if they're going to collect data, it's pretty easy to use an age screen for that. But it's got to be a little more intense if it goes towards children in particular. And so we saw a lot of this over the last 3 years with education apps during the pandemic that are only designed for school-age children. And how can they get consent? And there's a couple of ways to do it. There are forms, that a company can use that can be filled out by parents and sent in paper form or other form that can actually make it happen. But it's got to be verifiable. Sometimes they'll take a micropayment, through a credit card, or collect some sort of ID, like a driver's license number or something like that. So it can be a little risky for a company because you're collecting children's data, you're getting consent, and then when you get consent, you're checking or collecting another piece of pretty sensitive data for the parents. But my favorite in the sort of breathless headlines that came out when the potential fine from the UK ICO hit, there's two issues that make it, I guess, if it's true, more significant for TikTok. One is that it's children's data. And then the second is that it's something called special category data. And over in England, special category data has a definition, and it was repeated in all the news articles. And I'll read it to you because it's pretty funny. It's ethnic and racial origin. That's not funny. political opinions, which I love that maybe there was a collection of political opinions of children. I don't know if there were. I don't think there were. It's just a block of text that every newspaper copied over. Religious
Let me tell
beliefs.
you, Mother, I can't stand the Tory party.
That's right. Religious beliefs, sexual orientation. What, like an 8-year-old? Come on. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot more to the story that's going to come out. But this big block deck. But my very favorite one is in almost every article I read on this was trade union membership. So that's one of the special category data is that they're alleged.
So the kids,
right. But they're in a trade union.
Listen, those kids in England. Well, listen, we can go back into, it's Oliver Twist, or what was the Charles Dickens one? Those little kids on the street, they're unionized, right? They ought to be, because the working conditions were pretty rough for kids over there back in that day. So it wouldn't surprise me.
I think the big takeaway is, for any of our listeners who are involved in cyber and privacy, particularly for startups, there's a lot of our listeners work in the startup space for software as a service or app developers. If you're developing a game that is going to be targeted towards school-age children, or if you're developing an ed tech app, get savvy now when you're baking in your design to make sure that you're collecting the right consent from the parents for COPPA. There was a pretty famous Federal Trade Commission report maybe 20 years ago, right after COPPA passed, like, a couple of years later. And it was something like, they looked at like 200 websites and 80% of them didn't have the basic stuff. The basic stuff is pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of good guidance out there. And so if you're involved in privacy or cyber for apps or software as a service that has a child as a potential user, there is a lot you can do now to get yourself off the radar for these things. If you're a big company like a TikTok or another large provider, you're always going to have a regulator looking at you, almost regardless of your practices. But for the small companies, you really don't want to make a misstep when you're designing these things. And the time to bake in compliance with COPPA is early.
Yeah,
you can do it at the early stages, and you really don't want to be, what most developers do is they just split the product into two pieces. One is sort of the no frills, no collection that might be used by those 12 and under. And then the full product is for everyone else. And you have some kind of a gate at the beginning of it that sends kids to one section and 13 and up to the other section. So that's the best way to do it. But if you're running a website that's just advertised to everyone, like, if you go on like a liquor company's website, it's always, how old are you? Put in your birth date. There's a legal reason for that. It's not just because of the alcohol age, but, age gating in many instances for a regular use website is enough. You really need verifiable parental consent when you're specifically collecting from children and you're using the website for that purpose. So little PSA for those who are involved in that world. Once you know about it, it's hard. It's pretty easy to spot these issues. And we'll see what happens with TikTok over in the UK. Pretty big number. I think they've got a defense to it, and they've been out there publicly saying that there's more to the story, and we'll just have to keep an eye on that as it develops, Ernie.
Yeah. Well, speaking of more to this story, we're going to take a quick break, and when we'll return, we're going to talk to Charles about his hacking mindset and how it pushed him beyond the basics. So stick around.
Looking for more no password required content? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at No Password Pod.
All right, welcome back. Our guest is Charles Shearer, the CEO of Global Wave Consulting. Charles, welcome to No Password Required.
Woo! I am glad to be here. It's wonderful Wednesday, and I'm feeling great. How's everybody feeling this afternoon?
I tell you, if I was any better, I'd be twins.
Oh, okay. Even better.
So Charles, we'd love to start just to hear a little bit about where, sort of like how you got where you are. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and your career path and how you became the CEO of Global Wave?
Oh, definitely. So we're gonna take this back a little bit towards the college days, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's where I really dug into like my hacking chops, right? So I got into just tech really in college. So I was into I kind of did it backwards. So most people, they kind of start off with Windows and everything else. I kind of did the backwards thing and jumped into Linux accidentally, of course. I
Like most
actually,
people accidentally into
yeah.
Linux.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
you know.
definitely. So and the way I did it was I was actually like trying to run 2 operating systems on one laptop, and I deleted the fat partition. And then all I had was Linux left when I rebooted. So I had to learn from the command line, like, oh my goodness, this is it. And luckily I had another computer that was running IRC, and
Okay.
I was just like back and forth, like, hey, what do I do? How do I do this? They're like, first of all, type start X, and then second of all, look at web crawler. Notice I
That's
didn't say
awesome.
Google, it's a web
That's
crawler.
awesome.
So I just started like printing out books, like learning like networking. I got this book called Network Complete for like $19. Actually, my mother bought that for me for $19, right? And I went ahead and started reading it. But as I was reading, I was making my own books to the point where I kind of got kicked out of the computer lab because I was printing too much paper. Because that's how I was making my books. So remember the big Ziploc bags, the huge Ziploc bags?
Yeah.
So what I would do, I would print out a book, right? And I'd put each chapter in its own Ziploc bag. And then when I would finish, like say if I'm working on like chapter 1, I would finish one half of the chapter and I take a highlighter and just mark it at the top.
Yeah.
And that would let me know that's where the page I left off. And then when I would finish that particular chapter, I would take a Sharpie and write done on the plastic of the of the Ziploc bag.
Do you still have those somewhere, or did those
Oh, they're
get
still
lost on the way?
somewhere. They're still somewhere. Like the Ziploc bag's all yellow, the pages are
That's
yellow.
awesome.
Yeah, because I still have my Bible. And people's like, Bible? No, VI bull. So VI editor in Linux. I learned a lot over the years, and I would print out different things. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a Bible. And I would keep that with like different commands that I've learned and tips and tricks. And I had it in a binder, a little orange binder. I got that idea from a good friend of mine that I used to work with, who I want to plug here, made me a better Unix engineer. Shout out to Daryl. You know who you are. I started putting that stuff together, and I mean, I would just practice each day. And then what I would do, I did a man page a day. So I would read one man page a day and practice the command for that one command for the entire day. So for the LS command, I would practice the command line switch. Say today is Monday, right?
Yeah.
So that would start off into the week. Today's Monday. I'm like, you know what? LS command. And that's all I would do all Monday was just the LS command, all the command line switches, and keep practicing. When I had time, lunch break, practice. On Tuesday, I'd come back in and just do everything with the LS command with all the command line switches, then add on the copy command and practice the copy command, practice all the way Tuesday. I did that for an entire year and learned that there were 80 base Unix commands, and all the other commands after those 80 base are just based off of the Linux and whatever Linux that you're using, like Ubuntu or whatever else. But I learned a lot, and I turned it into a little adventure.
Where did this drive come from? I mean, that is incredible discipline to stay on top of something like that. Where did that come from?
From video games. So this is where the video game connection. So my mother, I never forget, my parents, like, you know, they had like take your kids to work day. That's what it was. And I never forget, she took me to work one day and she had Pac-Man on a 5.5 floppy disk. And the screen,
yeah.
And the screen was black and green.
Yep.
The text was green on the black screen. And I would just sit there with the arrow keys just playing Pac-Man for hours until she would come get me or say, hey, come out and meet this person or meet that person. But that's all I would do. And then as time go on, I got older. That's when I started getting into like Atari 2600, video game, Nintendo, Genesis. And from there, it was just a patience, because when I first got Legend of Zelda, you had to have a map. You had to find your way around a different forest to find the magic potion and, you know, just different things that you had to find. But that took time and patience. You didn't beat that game in one day, you know? So I think that's where that drive came from. So anything related to computers, I look at it this way. If somebody right now say, hey, Charles, I want you to play Super Mario Brothers 3 and I wanted you to make it as far as you can in Super Mario Brothers 3, I can still go back to that game, even though that game came out in 1988, and still go back and still remember where the one-ups are and what to look for and get the raccoon and fly and everything else, right? I can still do that to this day, right? So I treat computers the same way. I look at computers in that same aspect. Like, if I get on a Unix system, I know right away to look for the ls command. If it's Windows, I know to look for the dir command for directory. It's just certain things that you just, that helps me to understand it, you know? And that's how I got into it so deep, you know? And I always had a passion for technology with anything. So it was just, that's what that drive came from. And then fast forward back to college. That's when I got into hacking and everything else, and just because there was no VMs, there was no Discord, there was none of that at this time. This is all web crawler, Dogpile. Google did exist, but it wasn't the Google that you know today, right? So I would, and of course, printing out books, and that's how I got into it. And fast forward from college to, like, say 2010.
Yeah.
And this is where I was at Northrop Grumman at the time. And I just wanted to start my own company. And a good friend of mine wanted to do the same thing. And so that's where we came up with the idea of Global Wave Consulting. Started out with just doing web hosting.
It started web hosting, and now
we do SAP / and of course I'm the head of the security division.
So you mentioned that you have this love of technology. Where did that come from?
It just, I as a kid, because I grew up around technology all my life, technically, maybe not as like how the internet kids are now, you know. I'm 42 years old, so 1980 till now, like, it's always been like a video game handheld. Remember the Tiger handhelds?
Yeah,
I had a Tiger handheld. I've had the football handheld.
Yep.
It's always been something electronic. Remember those?
Meaning the one that you move the little dot and the little dots moved across. Yeah.
Yeah. My good old Reliable. And this is from 1989, folks.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Is that a real Game Boy? Like,
that's the real Game Boy,
cartridge-based Game Boy, not an emulator.
Wow, look at that. Land.
That's amazing.
Super Mario Land. This is my original Game Boy from 1989. It's yellowish a little bit.
To the UV rays. You can't help that.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where even and then as time went on, I went and got a Game Gear. Well, my parents got me the Game Gear. So this is my original Game Gear from 1990.
Full color, right? That was a color.
That was the color one.
Okay.
Yeah, cartridge and everything.
Sonic. Okay.
That's like in the full color. That was a
deal.
Light years ahead, man. That was blazing a path.
This thing takes 6 batteries, 6 AA. So
and you can use it for 20 minutes with that 6 AA.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like
it's cheaper to operate. Yeah, an arcade is cheaper to operate, right? You put
exactly. Let's just say the Energizer Bunny commercial loved me. That's why I probably beat the drum every time my parents were buying batteries.
I had a rechargeable battery that sat on the back of the Game Boy, and you could recharge that thing, but it made the Game Boy about 6 times larger. It was like
pretty much,
like holding a loaf of bread.
Exactly. No, holding the old school Zach Morris phone.
Yeah.
There you go. Even better.
That's right.
Looks like one of those old World War II walkie-talkies.
There you go. Even better. But that's where that love of technology comes in. The fact that you can make things with your mind. And if you're really good at it, you could do something that somebody's never seen before. But it's just the rush to be able to try to do that is just what's amazing, you know. Forget about the buzzwords and the business aspect. Just plain old rolling up your sleeves, playing with technology, whether it's building a computer, whether it's building a race car set or a train set. It was just the simple stuff that I really enjoy, even to this day. You know, if somebody tells me they want to get into computers or technology, I'm excited. I'm excited like just as much as they are, because I'm like, this is cool. Look at all the cool stuff I can show you.
Yeah.
And then show me some of the stuff that you've been working on so I can learn too. it's forever learning. So that's why that's what I love it as well too.
What do you think? I mean, you use the word hacking a lot, and
Yes.
sometimes folks in the industry shy away from it, but you use it a lot. What is the hacking mindset to you? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Um, the hacker mindset has always been, you don't accept things the way they are. You take that and you change it and make it to something better. And that's not even designed to just computers. It's just with life in general. And I've learned to apply it to life. Like, hey, you don't just accept the way things are. Just like, you know what? I don't like how things are. So you change things within your control. And I mean, this is the reason why we get up and we go to work each morning. We go to work to be better than we were yesterday. So that's the hacker mindset. You know, it has nothing to do with computers. People just made it computers over the years.
Yeah.
You know, but before computers, there were telephones and they were called the phone freakers, right? Which is a lost and forgotten art. I didn't forget those guys. I just know they're probably really good voice over IP engineers now. If you think about it, you know, so it's always that. It's just that mindset that keeps me going as well too. Like, hey, I know if I write this computer program right now, say if I'm programming in Rust a lot lately, right? That's like my new toy. That's like my new Legend of Zelda, right? I'm programming a lot in Rust, and it's a new toy for me. 6 months from now, I'll write a program that I wrote today. 6 months from now, I know I'm going to want to make changes to that to make it better and make it do things that it wasn't designed to do. That's the fun part about like tech, and just that's why I call hacking in general.
Okay. For the pen testing part of what you do, like how has, I mean, you've seen it, you know, over the last 40 years, really. I mean, how has network penetration testing sort of evolved for you in your mind?
Just the way the techniques are amazing. You know, we're no longer just relying on the firewall. It's just, you know, because remember before, you just had, if you had a firewall up, you were locked down. They're considered locked down back then. Oh my God, they have a firewall. We need to leave that alone. They're logging in the firewall. We need to leave that alone. Oh my goodness, like we made it to the firewall, and we don't care if they're logging. So now we have access to this machine. Now we could do something internally. Oh, they're logging internally. Like, it's just changed, like far as like the technology has evolved, right? But the same time the technology has evolved is the same time the attacks have evolved. More ways of like bypassing things like antivirus, you know, and then from antivirus, really Windows Defender. The big thing now is just having like EDRs in place and monitoring the network. The tools have gotten better. So that's how I say things have evolved more, as not only tools, but the hacker mindset and the techniques in general.
So switching gears a little bit, you know, on Twitter, you do a lot of, you know, morning motivational type stuff. That's, you know, you're a public figure out there. So what's the story about that? Yeah.
So how that got started, right? By nature, in person, I'm a people person. I have a passion for people.
I can't tell that at all. I don't see that. I don't see that.
So, so what started it? I started seeing on Twitter, especially when the pandemic hit. There were a lot of people tweeting. There were a lot of people that were depressed. You know, people talking suicidal thoughts. It was just a bad time. It was a dark time, especially when the pandemic hit and everybody was pretty much locked inside, right? So again, the hacker mindset. I didn't like what I was seeing. Some of my friends feeling that way, and I was just like, you know what? You don't like the way things are, you change it. So I started out with just you know, motivational tweets. I used the 140 characters like everybody else. But then I don't know, one day I woke up and said, you know what? We're in the age of video. Cut that camera on. You got that cell phone for a reason. Use it. That was my inner self talking. But so I started doing that, and just like doing the morning videos. And where the retro shirts come from it's more so symbolic. It's from a time place where when people see the retro shirts, it's like it takes them back to a time where things were a little bit more simplistic in life, whether they were a kid or if they were in their early teens or whatever, right? But and then just keeping them encouraged each day, you know, like, hey, today might have been as great as you wanted it to be, but you're still here today to make yesterday look like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And just to keep people going and keep people like smiling. I know the world is falling apart, but that doesn't mean you have to fall apart. And I pride myself on doing that every day. That's what motivated me to really do that, to keep people from quitting on themselves and their families. And because when someone's either depressed or going through something, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And what keeps me going, because people are like, well, how the heck are you able to go through all of this, right? I have friends and family that keep me balanced as well too. Like, it's all a village. So when you see me talking those videos, I'm looking right in the mirror as well too. We're on this journey together, Yeah. So and that's what keeps me going. I get to wake up each morning, do what I love for a living. I got friends, family, you folks on Twitter, or the internet in general. I mean, life is sweet. Yeah, I can go make $1. Anybody can go make $1, but you can't replace people and you can't replace moments. That's more important. That stuff is priceless. Your health is priceless. And that's why I tell people, your health is not for sale. So stop putting a price on it.
Charles, what do you think the future is going to look like? Like, I mean, you're doing a lot to help, right? But what do you think the future? Are you optimistic? What do you think the future looks like?
I think the future is going to be, it's going to be, well, definitely extremely different. I think we're going to have more people who are self-aware, especially in the mental health space.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing that now, because before, like 10 years ago, nobody talked about mental health, especially in the tech space, not even just InfoSec, just tech in general. Nobody talked about it, but I see people being more self-aware, maybe being even more caring. And this is why it's important for our generation, wherever generation that you're at, to keep pushing that mental health narrative and keep pushing positivity out there. Because as you do that, the younger generation sees this as a way of life. And this is just me. I can't predict the future, but this is what I'm hoping can happen. If the younger generation sees like, oh, there is something positive out there. You can be positive and be okay. You can be positive and work in this industry. You can be positive, and you see other people positive. Their mind is trained to do that. And then they'll start pushing positivity out to other folks as well too, until we can get rid of all of this craziness that goes on, especially with like negativity, and maybe cut down on depression, people being depressed about life. So that's the goal.
When you talk about, pushing out positivity, and which thing would you be more positive to give up? Pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice lattes?
Now, I got to get rid of that pumpkin pie.
The pie's
that
dead?
Pumpkin pie got to go.
Come on, man. I mean,
that pumpkin pie got to go.
Pumpkin spice, I'm not even sure that's an actual thing, by the way.
Pumpkin pie is like a fork or spoon. It's a way of getting whipped cream into a human being's mouth. I don't think it, as of itself,
there you go,
is its own. Pumpkin spice latte is the whole thing. You have a sip of it, it has a whole thing. It's not relying on something else to work. I mean, you show me a person who likes pumpkin pie and you take away the Ready Whip, and they're not.
Oh, they're not even happy about it.
No,
they're like, what is this? They're like, what is this? Give me the sweet potato. Move this stuff out the way. That's now I will not replace the sweet potato. That'll go anywhere. Pumpkin, caramel brulee, all of that could go away. But that sweet potato pie stay. That stays.
Charles, you have the big public presence where you're interacting with a lot of people all at once every day. And then you have your role in the company, and you have a role where you're working with people almost on a one-on-one basis.
Yes.
Can you talk about your passion for getting others into cybersecurity?
Oh, yes. Yes. So when I meet, and this is why I go to like the different conferences, or even on Twitter, if there's anybody out there that's listening and they are looking to get into the field, DM me. My DMs are always open. When I notice somebody that's passionate about getting into InfoSec, the first question I ask them is, do you know what you're interested in? Is there a specific part about InfoSec that you might like? Or if you don't know, that's okay. So I make folks feel comfortable, like, hey, you could definitely come on in. You know, you could definitely come on in and like literally, like, we're here to help you. You know, like, this is not like, oh, you don't know this, then we're cutting you off. No, that's not how that works, you know, because nobody knows everything. Right. So I always try to be inviting and just say, hey, you know what? If you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. Hey, let's go over it together. And I literally have a chart, a list of everything like that goes like with like say forensics. Hey, do you think you might like forensics? This is what goes on forensics. And if I don't have the answer, I know somebody who does.
Okay.
So this is how I'm always willing to help folks get into the industry and not make them feel like they go ahead.
You know, part of it too is like part of that's such an optimistic and kind thing to do, Charles. So we really appreciate that, you know, on behalf of the industry too, that you're making that message out there, because sometimes there is a sense of like, it's a club and you gotta figure out what the keys of the club are. If there's somebody who's willing to share, no, here are the things, here's what forensics is. And here are the good skills that might be different than networking, or that might be different than pen testing, right? There's some different skills and different kind of people can be successful in each of those. That's a nice thing that you're able to do, and a real positive thing.
Because this is the world, because again, the world teaches us to hoard everything. Information. Hold on. No, don't tell them that, because they can replace you. I'm sorry. Newsflash, folks. You're going to be replaced one day. Every year you have a birthday. That means you're getting older. That means you're going to be moved up out of here. So you might as well enjoy the time while you're still here. And remember, the internet is never a permanent place. It's a place that we rent. We'll never own it. Only thing that'll be left here when we're gone is our videos.
It's a river. The internet's a river that flows.
That's it. It's a river.
But it's also, this is one of the areas, it's not like there's 100 jobs and 1,000 people. It's like there's 1,000 jobs. Like, it is one of the industries where there are more, like, we need more qualified people. Like, we're not, you know, if you know what, if you're interested in this and you can get the skills built, you can get a job. It's not like it's not like pitching for the New York Yankees, right? There's not only so many spots.
Yeah.
There's unlimited pitching opportunities if you are willing to learn this stuff.
If you're willing, that's all it takes is attitude and effort. That's all I ask. Attitude and effort. The positive attitude that's, hey, I want to do this. And then the effort with actually doing it. That's it. Those are the two things I ask for. That's it. And then you can ask all the questions that you want. I'm perfectly fine with that. There's no such thing as a dumb question at all. Because again, somebody helped me.
Charles, I do want to ask maybe what is a dumb question. Like, you have a lot of very cool t-shirts and I have a handful of cool t-shirts, but I have to ask this, do you fold them or do you hang them on a hanger?
Hang them on a hanger.
You hang, okay. All right.
Put it right on the hanger.
Yeah. So, because some of those are probably hard to find, or custom t-shirts, right?
No, these are custom. So
they're all custom. Okay.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine actually makes the t-shirt. So what I do, I'll play the video game, right? So this is actually me playing Little Nino Dream Master. I have it for the NES, right?
Okay.
So I paused it and then took a picture of it with my phone and converted it into a GIF. Not GIF, I'm sorry, a JPEG file, sends it over to him, and then he puts on the t-shirt. And of course I pay him and stuff like that. Yeah. And this is the material that you get back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it's a unique creation of you actually playing it. Oh, that's
playing
really
the video game. Because a lot of people like, I've never seen that. Like, you know, where'd you get that character from? Or where'd you get that? Because the character is from the game that I'm playing. Like, I have Final Fantasy t-shirts with just Fighter. I had one on today in the morning video. The fighter. The only thing is, I spilled some water on it. Otherwise, you guys would have saw it today. So that's why. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go from fighter in Final Fantasy to Little Nemo, the Dream Master.
All right, another question we have to
Yeah.
ask you. If you had, what would be tougher to give up? All right. Twitter, video games, or podcasting? If you had to give up one, what would be toughest? Twitter, video games, or podcasting?
Video games. Video games would be the toughest to give up. Why? Because it's always been there and it will always be here, right?
They are eternal.
They are eternal. There's no and this is the thing. We only talk about the popular titles, right?
Yeah.
Now there's somebody that's gonna watch the show be like, what the heck is Little Nemo and the Dream Master? And they're gonna go look it up. And they're gonna be like, oh, this is cool. Hey, did somebody get to the NES classics? And then it just constantly keeps going on and on.
One thing I think is really, really amazing and remarkable nowadays is where we are as a society. You can go back and now basically all the cool video games that you had when you were a kid, they're all practically free and available online that you can download versions and emulate them. And so it's like it's just remarkable. It's just amazing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I wanted to go play old Apple Pitfall, I could just Google it right now and I could be playing it in 5 minutes.
Yes, or Choplifter.
Yeah, Choplifter. Oh man. I'd forgotten about that one.
See, and that's the beautiful part about video games. It's just it's an endless cycle of amazing characters. My two favorite games ever, Mega Man and Final Fantasy. Reason being, and I guess it's a special love for them because I got those in Christmas of '87. I never forgot.
Awesome.
And look at Final Fantasy today.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie franchise, man. It transcends.
And I remember when it was just a little character, 8-bit character on the screen and making little pew sounds, and it's just now it's a movie where it's in high definition. And it's cool to see the little kids oh my God, Final Fantasy. And they're 5 years old and 6 years old. I'm like, man, they only knew. My niece tells me, Uncle Charles, you come from a dark time. I'm like,
it's the time before PCs.
Yeah.
The time
in a galaxy long time ago.
I just had this the opening scene of Conan with the
yes.
It was a time before civilization.
Man just said, not yet sunk below the ocean.
Right.
That's the line, yeah.
But and I'm like, if I'm from a dark time, what about the kids that were kids when Star Wars first came out?
Yes.
What time are they living in?
Yeah. Did they think it was real? That was it's almost like we didn't know. That was the first time anyone saw something like that.
Listen, the Ewoks were the cutest Star Wars characters. I like Ewoks.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break now, but when we return, we'll have Ernie's lifestyle polygraph. So please stay with us.
You're listening to the No Password Required podcast. We cover cybersecurity and a lot of other stuff.
All right, welcome back. Charles, are you ready for the first ever lifestyle polygraph video game edition?
I am definitely ready. Let's bring it on.
All right. So the lifestyle polygraph is used by the Department of Defense and the national security apparatus to assess people's suitability to have access to the nation's most sensitive secrets. But here, we use a similar approach to determine the inner workings in the minds of our guests. And so here we go. It's a series of questions. We're going to ask you 5 questions.
Let's go.
It may be very uncomfortable for you to answer.
And the theme music's playing in my head right now.
Exactly. And so here we go. Here's the first question. What 3 people would you choose to build out your ultimate e-gaming squad? What game would you play?
Ooh. Now, the game that I would play is Destiny 2. I I would definitely add Dave Kennedy to the squad. Because he's done some amazing things in Destiny 2. I would definitely have my great friend Steve Johnson. I grew up with Steve. We go back as far as Big Wheels from age 5. Hi, Steve.
I saw a kid on one of those yesterday. I'm walking the dog, and he did the skid. He did the power skid with it, where he spins around.
Yeah.
Is that a ghost? Is that kid a ghost, or is that that was a real kid from today?
No, that I know, right?
That kid's awesome.
Exactly. I had Knight Rider. He had Dukes of Hazzard.
Knight Rider had the orange handbrake.
Had the orange handle. Yes. I thought
amazing.
I was doing something. I'm like, turn on the turbo, and it's just a plastic thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Go turbo. Not doing a thing.
It wasn't even making a sound. It just did.
And then the third person on the team, understudy 77. Those are my 3.
Charles, you've got a lot going on. Do you find time to game like that? I mean, that could be pretty, do you have time to get involved in things like online, more modern gaming online, or do you find that hard to make time with all you have going
on? It's just, I compartmentalize. Like,
Okay.
It just depends on what's happening, right? I have a 5-year-old daughter. So, and like me and my wife, we're like, okay, we're going to go do this today. Oh, okay, cool. And we just kind of like compartmentalize everything. Right. So that's kind of how I do things. So if we're hanging out for today, okay, then that's where we are. And then I'll play video games later. I find time, I make time, it's just like with podcasting or learning or anything else, right? We make time for what we're interested in. So that's how I do it, and just have fun. And my wife understands. My wife's known me since 2001.
and you're still married.
Yes. Well, we got married in 2012. Started dating in 2004. And then got married in 2012. Had a kid in 2017. There we go.
And does she know about the printing and putting things in plastic bags earlier?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She knows all about my computer activities. She was around when I had the Sony Vaio with 10 gigs of hard drive space and 128 megs of RAM.
There's a screaming back then, man.
Yes. And when AIM was my phone, I didn't even have a cell phone. It was called AIM, and I just checked the messages when I came back from class.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The Vaio is the Vaio is like the then equivalent to having that big cell phone. Like in like 92.
Then, massive.
The Vaio is just a cool.
With the spaceship backpack.
Oh man, that's
my
so
friends
cool.
just say I have the astronaut backpack back in the day. It ain't as cool as the backpacks now.
Yeah, there's no carbon fiber. We didn't have carbon fiber back then. No, yeah, none of those. Yeah,
strong back.
That's yes,
we're having a LAN party.
There you go.
We were fit back then. We had to move those computers around. You kids don't know how good you got it. Speaking of staying in shape, here we go. Is there such a thing as a healthy gaming snack? A healthy gaming snack? And if so, what is it?
There can be. In my lifetime, I've never seen a healthy gaming snack, but there can be. This is where that futuristic, where we're talking about the future.
Yeah. Well, it's that positivity there. Yeah, someday
it can be.
We will strive to find. Yes,
we will strive. Okay,
the place on the hill.
You know where? You know what? We're already striving, folks, because we have healthy snacks in the kids' schools these days. There's no more of Reese Pieces, Buttercups that you could just get for a couple of cents.
That's true. That's right. Yeah, but hey, look at how well we turned out.
Right? We're still normal. I think
you could buy a Charleston Chew at the cafeteria in my middle school. At the cafeteria, you just go in and buy.
Yes, we used to call it the Geo store.
Yeah,
you could have the Boston baked beans, the Red Hots. Oh my goodness, the Now and Laters and the Bazooka Joes. And the Bazooka Joe,
the gum that you could use, that you could use to make a body armor out of.
Yes, talk about a 2-for-1. You get bubble gum and a comic.
And they were fine those are like modern literature. Those,
Yes.
As long as we have Mountain Dew, I feel like there's always going to be a good base of unhealthy gaming snacks.
Yes.
Mountain Dew for every new game that gets dropped, they have a tie-in with some crazy flavor.
Oh, and we
Thank
had
goodness.
Sunny Delight and Tang.
Sunny D.
Sunny D.
Yeah,
I
the
remember
purple
my mom would.
stuff,
I
Sunny
would say, "Hey, can we
D.
get that?" And she would tell me to. I mean, I'm surprised she did. Maybe she did. Maybe I'm blocking out that she didn't just beat me. Sunny D. Whack. You're not getting that stuff. You might as well just drink gasoline.
Or,
You're drinking antifreeze.
Or the high C with the ectoplasm.
Yes,
Slimer.
Ecto Cooler.
That's
Ecto
right.
Cooler.
That's
It
right.
would come in a big can, and you could
Yes.
pierce it with it, and
You had to use the old school, like the
You just-
John
Yes.
Wayne
both
looking thing.
ends.
From,
And Slimer just had the biggest smile on his face.
Why wouldn't you
Oh,
drink
we
it?
were living.
What's that flavor? It's green.
I might
Yes.
get
What's the
some of
flavor?
that.
Green.
Ecto Cooler.
It's
Someone's
like
got to
Ecto-
bring that back, like they bring back the McRib. Like someone's got to bring back. I wonder if they Ecto Cooler. I wonder if they still have that.
Go get yourself a McRib and some
Get yourself
Ecto
some
Cooler.
Ecto Cooler today in 2022.
Oh man, as an adult, that would just destroy me now. But I want to do that. I want to
Yeah.
hunt that down.
You know what? It'd be so many happy adults. You see, listen, if we were to put that out on Twitter, hey, they're coming back with the Ecto Cooler, people would lose their mind. Oh my
They would.
goodness. You see
Yeah.
40-something years old. Ah,
Yeah.
Ecto Cooler.
Well, they're bringing back they have quote adult Happy Meals. I don't know if that's
That's true.
but I'm not sure I understand that though, because what's the difference between a regular Happy Meal and adult Happy Meal? I mean, it's still going to be a cheeseburger and fries and a small Coke, right?
The difference
With
is bioengineered. Uh-oh. I'm just saying, they make fruits a little bit bigger now.
They
and
shinier.
shinier.
Well, don't get me going on the avocados and the size of avocados. I think the avocado market's pulling the same thing that the tuna
Oh,
industry
they sure
did.
are. They sure
And they
are.
shrank the avocados and they're still charging the same thing.
Yes, they are.
That's for a whole other episode. But
Yes.
but sticking with the video game theming. All right,
Yes.
here we go. Number 3.
Mhm.
What's the greatest gaming system of all time?
Oh, this is hurtful.
That's
This
right. You
is
got to
tough.
pick. You must choose. There can be
Of
only
all
one
time.
of all time.
You know what? The greatest one of all time, the Nintendo Entertainment System,
The NES.
the NES. Why? Because here's the thing. First of all, it has two of my favorite characters on there, Mega Man and all of Final Fantasy, the fighter and the crew. I'll just say the crew. But the reason why I say it's the greatest of all time, because it not only created those characters, it gave life to Mario. It gave extra life because Mario was on Atari, but they gave extra life and a new definition of Mario. Mario had new suits, he also had better looking characters.
Yeah.
So it gave birth to that. It gave birth to Legend of Zelda. Which we're still playing to this day on a Nintendo device.
Yeah.
It gave birth to Kirby,
Metroid.
Castlevania, Simon Belmont.
Yeah.
Look at all these games that came out on that system. And then it even incorporated movie games as well. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yep.
Batman.
Yeah.
Like,
movie tie games. All the Scrooge McDuck and
Yes.
some of the Disney
DuckTales.
licenses. Yep.
Yes, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, Tailspin. Look at all this that was on that system.
And that's where it started. Yeah.
I've got a Nintendo Switch, and about 80% of my time on it is spent playing
in the NES
the
thing,
NES.
right?
That's
Yes.
it. Yep. That's it. And the kids in my house too. I mean, it's just something about those games. Like they're easy to get into. It's very, very hard. And some of them you can play for hours and hours and hours and hours.
And look, this is so cool. This is why Nintendo was so awesome. It made us want to be hunters of ducks.
That's true.
That's true. That is true.
For hours.
And if I can show you my buddy, that it even had a person that could play with you, a robot.
Oh,
that's
what?
Oh, man. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
The NES Rob. Yeah. Okay.
Rob, R-O-B. That's it.
R-O-B.
Okay.
This thing would play Gyromite and stacks with you. It would hold the controller.
Yeah, and it would do its
Yes, a little slower, but and I know people are like, oh my God, that looks like E.T. a little bit. Yeah, that's what, and it reminds me of Johnny Five, actually.
Yeah.
That's right.
That
That's
short circuit.
That's right.
But this is how cool Nintendo was. You know,
Yeah.
like it gave you Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Punch Out. There were so many
Contra, yes.
all the producers, they just let a lot get made, right? And so there wasn't
Yes.
so much different stuff came out, and there were a lot of flops, and there were a lot of, but because there was so much creativity, so many winning
Right.
franchises came through.
Tecmo Bowl.
That's right. Yeah,
That's
that was
another
one of
one.
the yeah. Before there was Madden, there was
Still
Right.
good.
There was Tecmo Bowl. Double
Still
dribble.
playable.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like Ninja Gaiden. I could go on, you know, and it's just
All the Data East games, all the Turtle
yes,
games.
Bad dudes.
I've got a Bad Dudes t-shirt,
So do I.
but that's not a custom one. It's just
Oh,
the original artwork.
But it still
Jack, you don't
counts.
need a T-shirt, Jack, because you are a bad dude.
That's right. They
Listen.
just I'm on someone else's t-shirt.
That's exactly
for
correct.
Bad Dudes.
The
Yeah.
original bad
there you
dude.
go. But these are things like these are games like Nintendo. This all was housed on Nintendo for so many years. You know, even during the Sega Genesis era,
Yeah.
Nintendo was still producing games. You know, so and the Mega Man franchise took off. Look, matter of fact, forget the games, right? Look at the franchises that came out of the NES era. Super Mario Brothers still play today. Legend of Zelda still play today. Mega Man still play today. Final Fantasy still play today. Dragon Warrior,
Oh yeah.
Dragon Quest, Star Tropics, Adventure Island. Look at all of these, and all off of one tiny gray and black box. And before that gray and black box, there was the red and white.
There was the red and white. It all
That's
began.
right.
Charles
in
has
Japan.
and is showing us a Famicom, which is the original, right?
Nintendo.
Very hard to find
Yes.
in the States, at least,
Yes.
the Japanese
Yes.
version, or they would call ours the American version, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
because
the original. Yeah.
yeah, because they have the I love the imported consoles. Like, I mean, those are just like amazing. But back to the best video game system. That's why I say Nintendo's the best video game system.
All others
Ever.
are based off of that. They are.
Yes.
That's the core. That's when it really moved in. Yeah.
Without Nintendo, you don't get a lot of these systems to this day. With no Nintendo, there was no Sega. If you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sega, before there was Genesis, there was the Master System, which was also 8-bit. And then they started getting creative and creating Shinobi, which people still play today.
Yeah.
You know, they started making their own characters that were only based off of their system. But they could thank Nintendo for that creativity.
Yeah. For taking that approach to start.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here's it is. Number 4.
All right.
What video game world would you want to live in?
And you know what's funny? And it's ironic. The world that I want to live in is right on my t-shirt. Little Nino and the Dream Master. You know why? Because it's just anything is possible in that world. Even like in reality, anything is possible. But you can see a mushroom. You can jump on top of a giant mushroom. You can be in a frog suit. You can fly. And you're doing all this in your pajamas. Kind of like what we do now when we're at work in our pajamas, right? So in a roundabout way. But that world is just, the possibilities are endless. So that's what world I would want to live in. And the clouds are smiling. It's just a beautiful place. You know, like in reality, you got to look at the cloud and kind of make it be what you want it to be if you stare at it long enough.
And yet in this world, it's already there.
There you go.
Okay, here we are. Question number 5. If you could turn any video game from your childhood into a blockbuster movie, which one would you choose and who would play the lead?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to go with Mega Man, the movie.
Mega Man the movie.
Mega Man, the movie. And I'll tell you why. Dr. Wily would be the internet, the evil genius.
Evil genius.
'Cause
New world
in a world.
coming summer 2023.
Mega Man had the Mega Blaster. Now, he had on his side Dr. Light, which we're going to flip this thing around. So, Dr. Light. So, Mega Man is me, the computer. Dr. Light is our client. The client helps me build things on my computer, whether it's code, whether it's moving around objects, playing with programs. Dr. Wily, which is the entire internet, what does he have that we're all trying to stay away from? Bots.
Literal bots. Yeah.
Literal bots
Right.
that automate things and that do things that we don't want done. So, and how do we combat this? We fight this every day by not answering a bot or blocking a bot or reporting a bot on an actual platform, like a Facebook or like a LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is getting botish these days. So that's why I say
I like
botish.
that.
Yes.
It's very bottish of you, sir.
Very botish.
Yes.
So this is why I say that I would turn that into a movie, because we're kind of like living a movie now. Every day we're combating something. We're fighting something electronic. It's not even physical anymore. It's just electronic.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish this person would stop spamming me. And come to find out, it's really not even a person.
That's exactly correct.
Right?
Exactly correct.
It's like, hey, we saw that you or if you're thinking something, algorithm.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I want to sit here. I want to look up mugs. Next thing you know, you got a whole bunch of mug bots coming at you. Ads,
Exactly.
Everything
You didn't,
else.
and you didn't even type mug in there. You just said, a mug would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Next thing
and then
you know,
look
boom.
at it's in your timeline. It's all over the place. It's on your phone.
Yeah.
It's literally on the phone. You pick up your phone, like, wait a minute. I'm trying to find the news.
Well, Charles, I got to tell you, this has been fantastic. It's been great having you on the show. Really, thanks for joining us. If our listeners wanted to connect with you, how could they do that?
Oh my goodness, they could connect with me on Twitter. I go by the BSD Bandit on Twitter. Definitely give me a shout there, because I pretty much live on Twitter and the internet, but I just come outside for air. But you can reach me there. Also, wanted to put this out here as well too, and you're hearing it first. I am putting together a podcast. Well, I'm just gonna call it a show. We're gonna put together a show called Good Times in Gaming with the BSD Bandit. And what that entails is more so me playing video game, like old retro consoles live. And I'll talk to you about the history of the console while I'm playing the game, my experience with the particular console. And you get to answer questions, and you might win a prize, maybe like $20 from for GameStop, or just different things. We haven't decided on the prize giveaways yet, but just want to keep it fun. If y'all can rock with me for an hour, that'll be fun. And I'm actually talking. It's not me sitting there playing the video game and just quiet. Like, I'm talking through the entire time and looking at the chat. And if anybody has questions or they answer a question, they might win something. And we just have fun and rock out together and take it back. Just take it back to a simpler time, just for 1 hour. That's all I ask. But I plan on starting that actually next Thursday on Twitch and streaming out to YouTube.
All right. So we'll look forward to that.
Throwback Thursdays, 5
Throwback Thursdays. Stay tuned.
Yes.
All right. So that brings us to the end of our program. And thank you for joining us. First and foremost, I have to thank my co-host, Mr. Jack Clabby.
Woo!
And also a special thank you to our guest, Charles Shearer, someone who actually proves that video games can be good for you and don't rot your brain. So remember, rate, review, and subscribe to the No Password Required podcast. You can find us on social media @NoPasswordPod. Send your questions or comments to info@nopasswordpodcast.com. And if you'd like some show swag, just ask and we'll hook you up. I'm Ernie Ferraresso. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you for listening to the No Password Required podcast. The show is produced by Cyber Florida. A special thanks goes out to our friends at Carlton Fields and Second Watch. If you would like to learn more about the show, visit our website at cyberflorida.org/pod. And if you still need more show content, check out our social media @NoPasswordPod.